Welcome back. This is the second part of episode 7. We're talking about championship mentalities, perspectives, trainings, and how you know what a proper coach is. Now, there's been a debate in many instances as to whether a person, a coach, needs to be a world champion in order to be a great coach. Obviously, that's a misnomer. Obviously, that's not correct. Most, I would say over 85% of all coaches who are world class have never, ever won a world championship. I'm going to say that again. 85% of all coaches who are some of the best known coaches in the world have never been world champions. For example, one of the most winning coaches in the history of the NBA is Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson has 11 to 12 championships. He did 6 with the Bulls, with Michael Jordan, and he did 5 with Kobe Bryant. Okay? Phil Jackson never was an NBA All-Star. He was never a household name to speak about. But his understanding of the game was so advanced that he was able to take very talented players and make them into champions. Now, you might say, oh, but he had Michael Jordan, he had Kobe Bryant. Many people have LeBron James now, and they can't win with him. It's not an issue of that. Michael Jordan didn't win his first championship till 6 years of losing in the league. 6 years. And then, with the strategy of Phil Jackson and putting the right people in place, where egos didn't collide and clash, they were able to win 3 in a row, 2 consecutive times. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. These are people with great work ethic, tremendous egos, self-confidence. So it's very delicate balance to coach people like that. He was able to do it. Chuck Daly, hometown, Detroit Pistons. He took a slew of different personalities, including Dennis Rodman, and made the Detroit Pistons world champions. Chuck Daly is no NBA legend in regards to playing basketball. Let me switch to boxing. Cus D'Amato. Cus D'Amato, you know already, was the trainer for Mike Tyson. Connections with Muhammad Ali. Unbelievable trainer. But he's nothing to speak of as a world champion. But he created the best in history. So much so, in terms of coaching strategies, he would take Mike Tyson to a hypnotist, and he would hypnotize him for greatness. Mike Tyson, if you don't know his story, he's a person that went through great trauma at a young age. And Cus D'Amato took him in as a father. And he would only reinforce positive things. You're going to be the world champion one day. You're going to dominate. You're the greatest, etc., etc., etc. These things stuck with Mike, and it changed his perspective. When someone believes in you and you come from an environment where people don't believe in you, great things happen. So Cus D'Amato would actually take him to a hypnotist, and he also, his words would hypnotize Mike Tyson to greatness. Phil Jackson, back to him again. He would actually light candles and incense and turn off the lights or dim the lights in the locker room and tell guys to clear their mind, do visualization. We studied this actually at my university, Eastern Michigan University, small group communications. And we learned one of the books we studied was one that Phil Jackson actually wrote. And so these are all tactics that mastermind coaches use. A lot of people who are athletes and are world champions don't know how to make that connection for other people. They can turn it on for themselves, like Michael Jordan's the best basketball player ever. But as a coach, I think he'd be horrible. They don't know how to talk to each individual person to get the best out of them. And so I digress. We're talking about championship coaches. Another example of not needing to be a world champion. Venus and Serena Williams, their father. In the tennis world, he's an absolute nobody. But he made two of the best women combined to be the greatest ever in tennis. No sisters between those two, they have more Wimbledons and French Opens and etc. than any woman in the history of tennis. And the fact is, coming from being a minority, that's incredible. Less than 5% of people who play tennis are Black American. So the odds are completely stacked. So that's another example of that. And they used his strategy. One of his strategies was he didn't let them play tennis with girls. He only let them play with male opponents so that they would deal with hard competition. So when they fought with girls on the tennis court, it's much easier. He set the bar higher. He also had them weight training. That was revolutionary. Now people are doing it. They're following suit. You have to weight train. So these are some of the things that came about that. Now, for jiu-jitsu, we have John Danaher. John Danaher has a master's degree in Columbia University in philosophy. And this guy has never been an IBJJF world champion in any belt level. But now he is arguably the best coach in jiu-jitsu. No-gi specifically. Gi he also showed. He went to the Worlds with Nicholas Marigali. Nicholas Marigali was already a champion, but he was a champion by advantages and points. When he went with John Donahue, similar to Gordon Ryan, but he fought in the gi, he submitted everyone in open division and his weight bracket. So that's a different level of mastery. You're talking about submitting someone versus winning by an advantage and just holding on for dear life. So by getting that coaching, and even Nicholas Marigali, he said himself, this is the best coach. So I take his word. As for no gi, you're talking about Gordon Ryan, obviously. Again, his submission rate is over 80%. No one's close to that. No one's close to that. The titles that Andre Galvalo or anyone has, not taking anything away from him, are not submission-based. They're not submission-based. This guy, if he doesn't submit you, it doesn't count. If Gordon Ryan doesn't submit you, he doesn't count. I remember he won ADCC and he was mad that he didn't finish with submissions. So again, that's the criteria from the coach, John Donahue. Again, a guy who's not a world champion. So yeah, Gordon Ryan had 80 known professional fights. 60 of those are by submission. That's an impeccable record, and it stands out. Now, a lot of you have never heard of the name Bob Bowman. Bob Bowman. Bob Bowman is the coach of Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps has 23 gold Olympic medals. I looked this up. Most countries don't have 23 gold medals. I'm willing to say that 90% of the countries who compete in the Olympics don't have 23 gold medals. This is one individual. He has 23 gold medals. So what he would do, for example, if he's going to swim a 100-meter race, Bob Bowman would have him train doing the 200-meter at top speed. Track and field athletes do the same thing. Some of them who are great, like Michael Johnson. So you train for 200 meters all out. So when you do 100 meters, you're completely endured. It's easy for you, and it's something that you set the bar so high that when you actually get to the actual competition, is easy. That is the strategy of all these coaches. Rick Pitino, basketball coach, same thing. Mike Krzyzewski, he was a Navy guy. He never won an NBA's final. He's been the U.S. Olympic coach many, many times, gold medalist. He's won so many college basketball championships. Same thing. So it seems as though the people who don't make it as world champions have a great eye, a great passion for something that they couldn't achieve, but when given certain opportunities with other people, they were able to give it to them. Another person I like to add is Manny Pacquiao. His coach, Freddie Roach, again, not a household name in terms of athleticism in boxing, but as a coach, unbelievable. Same with Emmanuel Stewart, honorable mention there. And so Manny Pacquiao would have a 12-round fight, and he would actually train 36 rounds straight. So he could come at you full blast for 12 rounds, no problem. So this is, again, overreaching the goal to ensure that you accomplish the goal. So now we'll get into questions and answers. One person asks is, what originally drew you to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what made you stick with it? What initially drew me to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that I came from freestyle wrestling as a background. I wrestled for 3 years. I had a 12-1 record in high school, and that was our core foundation, was grappling. So when I heard there was a martial art that involved grappling but had submissions, we were all in. Me and my cousin, Professor Jamil Ali, we were all in. We searched for like days to find a school that taught us that. And then we end up finding a school in Canton, Michigan that taught that. Second question. How has BJJ impacted your life outside of the gym, mentally or emotionally? I would say Jiu-Jitsu has impacted me by giving me a perspective of patience during difficult times, or being comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Jiu-Jitsu, to be successful at the higher levels of the belt, you have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Someone's got you on mount, someone's got you on side control. If you rush to get out of those positions, you're going to get submitted. So you actually have to wait it out, and then when the opportunity arises, you have to go for it. The third question: what's one common misconception people have about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I think the most common misconception is that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Jiu-Jitsu is limited. It is a matrix. Every single year, there is development in BJJ. BJJ takes a great approach where we basically, if it works, we take it. So it's like a matrix system. Whatever works, it becomes part of BJJ. Whether it's a judo trip, whether it's a Roman Greco upper body throw, whether it's a lockdown move, a calf slicer from Sambo, it becomes part of Jiu-Jitsu open tournaments like ADCC and things like that. So BJJ is not a sport per se like judo in terms of a martial art or Aikido. there kind of is no right and no wrong when you do BJJ. The next question I had: how do you approach training? Do you focus more on drilling, sparring, or positional work? Why? So the way I teach, I'm pretty technique heavy, meaning I believe the more you know, just like this podcast, the better decisions you can make. Same thing on the mat. Even if you don't memorize all the moves, the more you know, the better opportunity you have of surviving or prevailing in jiu-jitsu. You usually get caught, whether it's in boxing, jiu-jitsu, or anything, with things that you've never seen coming. So I teach a lot of technique. I think, as Master Higa Machado said, your cardio, your conditioning, that stuff you should go to the gym for. You shouldn't go to a BJJ class and let's say the class is an hour and a half and you do 1 hour or 45 minutes of just shrimps, push-ups, running, crunches, etc. If you do 1 hour of that, you do 5 minutes of technique and then you roll for 20 minutes, you're being ripped off. If the majority of your class is exercises and not technical, whether it's positional training or technique being showed, you are not being taught correctly. And your learning curve is going to take a long time to get where you're trying to go in terms of being a champion. Okay, next question. Who are your biggest influences in jiu-jitsu, either from your own academy or from another academy? So I would say, and this is a great question, my biggest influences in jiu-jitsu are, I would say, Master Lloyd Irvin, because he is the winningest of every belt level, girls, kids, adults. He is the winningest coach that America has produced. Many people don't realize the level of understanding that this gentleman has of jiu-jitsu. Jamil Taylor was the first Black American IBJJF world champion, European champion. Magic Man he's another guy. The Magic Man, his other student, took second place 2 times in the world championships, and he's won the Europeans, just like Jamil Taylor. Keenan Cornelius was a product of that. JT Torres got a black belt from him in 3.5 years, went on to win 3 or 4 ADCCs. Like, people don't, Muhammad Ali, he won the world championship with Lloyd Irvin coaching him. Many people don't know, and countless of world champions, whether they come or they go. You know a good instructor by whatever student comes to him, they improve. Whichever student, like I said, whatever student comes to him, they improve. Who's ever trained with him, they always grow. It's not just the athlete that's making the team, it's the actual instructor. And there's some teams, I won't name their names, but and I'm talking about in California, they hire people to compete for them because they can't produce. They don't have the knowledge. That's a fact. So they hire people who are already made to train and compete for their team to make the team name up. And that's fine, but as a coach, I can't respect you in regards to your knowledge because you don't have it. And that goes for the biggest of names. The next question, last question I'll do here. What's one technique or concept that completely changed your game when you discovered it? So again, what's one technique or concept that completely changed your game when you discovered it? I would say it's a concept. The concept was taught to me by one of my professors, the BJJ Houdini, Master Tyrone Gooden. And that is, whoever controls the middle controls the game. If I'm in half guard or 50-50, whoever has the most control of that middle is going to control. If you watch John Donahue, Gordon Ryan, when they enter into leg attacks, they are dominant in the middle, meaning from the top, their knee is penetrating between the leg, they're pushing the guy back, they're dominating the middle force, and so they are dominant. So whoever controls the middle, whether I'm passing the guard, whether I'm top, bottom, controls the game. Even for sweeps, you have to control the middle to control the game.